visiting cemeteries. I know it sounds weird, but it's something I enjoy doing. I love the South, where I'm from, with the fact that most all these old churches, you can go back and you can look at these generations of family members that you have. And all of these cemeteries, these tombstones that I see, they have certain things, all of them. They'll have their name, they'll have something written about that individual from a family member, and then they'll have three things: a number, they were born, a number, a date they died, and a space between. And today I just want to look at the space between. You see, it's funny that this is the most important part of that person's life, and yet it's just a dash on a piece of rock when all is said and done, if even that nowadays. So I just want to look at this today, and I just want to imagine that all of us are going to live, for the purposes of this message, to be 80 years old. And so 40 would be halfway between. If you're 40, you can put your hand right there. If you're, for me, I'd have to go this way, 10 roughly to 50, and then over about 3, I'm years old, right there. So I just want to back it up, though, and let's just go back to, let's start when you were, let's pick 12 years old. So go back to 10, go forward 2, and that's going to be about 12 years old. And that's when I first went to junior high. And I can remember going to junior high and how big of a world it was. And it's a whirlwind of things, and the pace picks up. You go forward 2 years very quickly, as we can remember, and now suddenly you're in high school. In high school, the world just opened up, and I can remember all these things that sports and friendships and relationships that were huge. You go forward 2 years, and I got my license. And I can remember, like I said before, learning to drive in my sister's bright yellow Super Beetle convertible. It was awesome. And then I remember my brother Scott letting me drive his 260Z, which was incredible. I can remember hanging out all the time in Sweet Home. It's a wonderful place to grow up with the lakes and the woods. And before I knew it, I was 18 years old and I was graduated. Now, I'm 18 years old, and for the purpose of this conversation, we're going to assume that everybody out there that's listening, you're just going to go to college. You went to college for 4 years, but I know that's not true, nor to even recommend it for many people. But let's just say this. You go forward 4 years of college, and now, you're 22 years old, but sometime during that time, all the studies show that most all of us, by the time we're 22, 23 years old, we have met the person that we're going to marry if we're going to get married. You either had them in high school, junior high, grade school, or you met them in college, but you've met that person. So let's say you're now 22 years old and you've met that individual, and so you decide we're going to get married. It's a wonderful time of your life, and so you plan it about a year, and now you're, 23 years old, and you're getting married. It's an amazing thing. Well, most people wait about 2 years to have a child. That's just kind of the rough estimate. It's getting at more now with more and more people waiting to get married, but it's still about 2 years. And so let's say it's now 23, 24, you're 25 years old. You're 25 years old and you decide to have a child. Well, I can tell you that it doesn't just happen right away. And let's just say from 25 to 27, you're like a lot of us. You're met with some heartache, that you were excited, but then things happen. And it's a large club, those of us who've experienced the loss of a pregnancy. It's a bigger club than most people know. And I say that as a source of encouragement to those of you, if you've went through it, that plenty of us out there you could talk to. But anyway, you're 27, but you continue to try. At 28, you have that first child. You're 28 years old, you have your first, let's call it a boy. It's a boy, and it's so exciting, and how amazing it is for you. You're just what a wonderful time. The picking of the name, the bringing it home, all of that is just whirlwind. And I can tell you from experience, it goes so fast. That this pace of they crawl, they talk, then they run, it's nuts. Next thing you know, you're going to kindergarten and they're going into first grade. Now they're in first grade. You had this child, I think when you were 27, they're 6, you're 33. If my math is wrong, it's okay. But you're roughly 33 and you have a 6-year-old in first grade. And again, it's just crazy. Those 6 years of grade school fly by. They just fly by. 33, now it goes, those 6 years, they fly by until you find yourself at 39 and there's kids going into junior high. You're 39 years old. You're almost to 40, and this kid is going to go into junior high. And what we say, it flies by. So your son goes for 2 years of junior high, which flies by. You're 40 41 years old. There's now officially more behind you than in front of you, and you have a freshman. Man, it's exciting. Your days are spent chasing after this kid and his sports schedule and his social calendar, and it's so exciting. As a 41-year-old man or 41-year-old woman, this thing is just great. But I can tell you, once again, those 4 years of high school go so quick. 4 years go so quick till you find yourself at 45 years old. 45 years old, and this kid is graduating. Remember how fast it went for you? It's even faster now. I've discovered time just flies by. And so I'm 45 years old at this point. You're 45 years old. They graduate high school. They decide to go again to a 4-year school. You're 45, and they go for 4 years, and now you're 49 years old. You're 49 years old, and they come to you just as you did to your parents, and you say, I've met the one. They say, I've met the one I want to spend the rest of my life with. You're 49 years old, and now you have another member of the family. And I've been told, and now I'm just going under supposition from what people have told me, that then, let's say 2 years goes by and they have a kid. You're 51, and you have a grandchild. And I've been told it's amazing that you want to spend all your time with that grandchild. That it's the greatest thing. They bring them over, you spoil them, and then you can give them back. I've heard it's amazing. You're 51. You follow that little grandchild around. It's just so cool to be a part of their life. And those 6 years, as we said, go by even faster at this part of your life. So at 51, now they're going into grade school. 51 times 6 is 57 years old. You're 57 years old, and now you're attending their games, their recitals, everything. 56 years old, and you're just following this kid around. They go into junior high, and how fast does junior high go? 56, 57, 58. You're 58 years old, and this grandchild of yours is now going to be what? In junior high. Junior high flies by. It flies. You're just a whirlwind of, you're trying to do your work, you're planning your retirement, you're doing all you can do to follow this kid around. Well, 2 years goes by at junior high, you're 61. You're 61 years old, and this kid, this precious grandbaby of yours, is now in high school. You do all you can to make family commitments, that everybody's involved. They come to your house, you go visit them. They've lived close enough to you that you've been able to do all this at 61 years old, and you follow them for 4 years. For 4 years, to now you're 65 years old. You're going to retire. You're going to retire the same year as they're going to graduate. They're going to graduate from high school. So they graduate from high school, and you're 65 years old, and they pick a 4-year college. And let's just say at 65, you and your wife, you and your husband decide, though, that now that, you know what, you can finally start doing the traveling you've always wanted to do. You're retired, you have a job maybe that you have that takes in some income, but you're going to travel. So let's just say your grandbaby goes to college for 4 years. At 65, you're now 69 years old, and you get the word in the meantime that you're doing all this traveling. You get the word, hey, the graduation's coming up. The graduation's going to be amazing, right? Your grandbaby's graduating, and you're 69 years old. So you get in the car, and you're driving there, and you watch this graduation. It's awesome. It's this amazing thing. Your grandchild, they've graduated. You get in the car, and you're headed home, and your spouse turns to you, perhaps, and says, hey, when are we going to go to the graduation? And you realize that things have been slipping for a while, that you've been overlooking or choosing not to remember, not to look at and focus on, that they've missed things. And so begins a journey, this journey that you committed to long ago to finish well. You're 69 years old, and doctor visits for a year. You're 70. You discover that they have Alzheimer's. Another 2 years goes by of you just making sure, 71, 72 years old, actually I'd be about right here, 72 years old, that they're okay, that they're taken care of. Your life now has went from chasing grandkids and chasing vacations to now making sure that this person that you love, who might never even remember you this side of heaven, is taken care of. And then the word comes down that they don't have long. They don't have long to make it. You have a couple years to plan, slowly, but now what are you, 74 years old, You're 74 years old and all of this is behind you. And you bury your spouse. And your children are there, and your grandchildren, everyone you had there, they're there. And now you go back to the house that you guys made together, and it's empty, but you know what? You have great memories. And so you're 74 years old, and you just go, let me get to this right spot on this. You go 4 years, and everything is just, it's good. You miss them, but it's good. You have the memories, and you have family around you who has rallied around you. Well, then you get the word from the doctor around the time, let's say you're 78 years old, that you have fill in the blank. You see, we're all going to get something. We're all going to die from something, and you've been told that you have a few years left is all. If you get lucky, at your age, they can't operate, they can't do whatever the process would be. And so you decide in that time that you're just going to spend every day loving on these people. And they start to move close to you. Your daughter and your granddaughter make it their life's cause to make sure you're good, to make sure everything you have is fine. And then let's just go ahead. It's the last day of your life. You're 80 years old. Everybody who you love is gathered in your room. You've decided to come home even, that if you're going to pass, when you pass, you're going to pass at home, where all these memories were established, where these people have visited, where the life you led was fleshed out. And I want you to go back down in your head to that last thread that you can't see, but I'm looking at. And before you go, you begin to think, you have this thought of all the years, all the days, all the minutes that came before. And I want you to consider right now in that moment, which of these days would you consider unimportant? Which of these days would you say, they don't matter, that week didn't matter, that day didn't matter, that month didn't matter? Because I believe that in that minute, every single day was precious. Every single minute you were given was precious. It's part of this dash, and it's part of the memories, and it's this fabric of your life that you would never give up in that moment had you known that this is as much as you got. And I say that today because we're tempted in this season that we've never been in before, a pandemic, this season of restrictions. We are tempted to think that these days, well, we're just going to get through them and rush through them. And on the other side, that's when life is going to resume. But I'm here to tell you that we are in the middle of life, and that everything we say and do right now counts. And it's important. It's important how we treat each other. It's important the relationships we value. It's important that we understand that this life we've been given is precious, and we would not throw away a single day. So that's my challenge for you guys this week. My challenge for you is to know that as my pastor Mark McCartan used to say all the time, that the days are long, but the years are short. And this time we've been given right now, it too will pass. We'll be on the other side of this. And yet, how we act today, how we treasure each and every moment that we've been given, it actually determines the way we look back. It determines the people who will be there at our side. It determines the richness of the memories. It actually determines everything. You see, what I know is that all of us have been given two dates. We don't know the second, we know the first. And we can't control either one, really. But what we can control is the dash between.